part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hello, people. How are ya? Thanks for joining in.
Yeah, I don't know how they are. I feel pretty good, though.
This is the Ball Card Show, the sports podcast.
For the Sports Collector,
I'm Jason Otero.
I'm Gary LeMaster.
And as always, we're brought to you by who?
The Press Play Podcast Network.
You heard it here first. Gary would like to apologize for his offensive behavior last week on multiple fronts.
My offensive behavior.
It was an all-out assault on morality, and it's an indication of the decay of the moral fabric in
Are
America.
we talking about my leakage issues?
Well,
Preparation H has done wonders this week.
That
though.
was one.
Yeah, it's done wonders.
Then you had the AIDS joke.
What AIDS joke?
See,
that wasn't a joke.
He didn't mean...
It was a devil's bargain.
He didn't mean...
Did you just snap your fingers at me?
Yeah, I'll do because nothing else is working. I'm trying to prevent you from going further with this. When he said what AIDS joke, what he meant to say is which AIDS joke, because he knows he probably made 5 of them in the same day.
I did not.
And he couldn't remember.
It
which
wasn't
one
even
it
a
was.
joke. It was a, if you were
Oh,
told.
you were seriously asking me?
Yeah, it was a devil's bargain.
Okay, yeah.
Which would you choose?
I would choose to not have that. Okay,
If you had 25 years of awesomeness,
you're getting a glimpse of what it looks like when Gary apologizes.
if you got AIDS at like 70 years old.
Nobody needs a scenario, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Also,
I'm
he's
just
wearing
saying,
a
I would take that deal.
Okay, he's still talking. He's wearing a Care Bears t-shirt.
Hell yeah.
They're holding guns.
Yeah.
Are those the Careless Bears? Is that the Care Bears?
I saw what you did. They're more like the War Bears. I don't know. But I love the Care Bears. I got some Care Bears sunglasses out in my car.
Guys, he's on a list somewhere. We just don't know what. Anyway, I'm apologizing for his behavior as he will not.
No, I didn't do anything wrong.
That is what you just said for 4 minutes.
What am I going to apologize for?
Nothing, because I did it for you.
Okay.
So, see how that worked out?
I guess.
Yep. All right. Did you pick up anything good? We didn't talk about pickups.
Let's see. What have I picked up in the last couple weeks? I picked up some Josh Allen stuff in anticipation, although I hope that it just stagnates because that means my Bengals will have won this coming weekend. I picked up some baseball stuff. I've been picking up some numbered stuff of guys that I've been able to pick up cheap that I kind of like a lot. There's a kid in the Guardians organization named Jose Tena who I like quite a bit. He's a real high floor guy. He's got more power than Quan, but he's still got high zone contact rates. And picked up him, picked up a few other guys. Was able to get into a couple of Bowman Draft case break player breaks really cheap. So picked up Sal Stewart in a case break for like $6, which is crazy. So I got a few refractors of him on this way, a bunch of firsts. Tried to get Chase DeLauder, but it went a little higher than I was ready to go. So, yeah.
I have been trying to do, I guess it's not retail, but retail arbitrage.
Yeah, you've been playing my game.
Yeah, it's not your game. You don't get credit for it. It's
okay.
all mine.
All right.
But buying more stuff to sell and to have inventory to build out what the card shows. So I picked up some cool stuff. I'm leaning in towards like desirable players, like rookie and numbered stuff, but I'm going with like a product that people aren't crazy about, but a player. So, for example, the Fleer Ultra rookie card of Albert Pujols.
Yeah.
Going over some late 90s, early 2000s Bowman Chrome rookies of like Urlacher and Charles Woodson, some of that kind of stuff. Picked up a Winfield 5-star.
Very cool auto. Yeah.
Cool card. So, buying a lot of stuff now, not just thinking about what I want for myself or what might be a flip later, but like, hey, what do I want to put in the box that I'm going to sell this week in the card show? So that's been kind of fun. It's been interesting watching how many people want to move stuff, how many people just like, I would never spend 3 hours on Facebook uploading things at prices no one's going to buy them at, but apparently a lot of people don't mind doing that.
A lot of people are somewhat delusional about their platform. If you are selling stuff, listen, folks, hear me. If you are selling stuff on Facebook, unless it is a of 10 or less numbered, super highly desirable card, you are not getting comps for it. You're not getting anywhere close to comps for it. You might get 70%, but realistically, you're going to get 40 to 60% of comps. That's because the people that are buying on Facebook are people like us.
Mm-hmm.
We're buying to resell it. We're not buying it for our collections. We're not buying it because we think it's cool. We're buying it because we need inventory and we have to make money. And when we're at card shows, we can sell it for close to comps.
Mm-hmm.
It's very simple.
Yeah.
If you would like to sell your things for close to comps, load up your vehicle every weekend just like we do, drive all over your state, pay the table fee, and set up at a show.
Mm-hmm.
Have fun.
This is a soft spot for you because we had a guy at the last show that was walking around with a case of stuff to sell, and you weren't even interested in looking at it. And I was like, what does that matter to you? Yeah, take a look. You never know what somebody has. And you were so mad because you're like, he does this all the time. He needs to buy a table.
Yeah, if he came up to the table and was like, do you buy or trade? I would have said, sure, let me take a look at what you have. But if you're only there to sell stuff, do what we do. Pay for the table fee, just like we do. It's very simple.
I don't know why that matters to you.
It bothers me because he's not trying to sell it at wholesale prices. He's trying to sell it at retail prices, just like we are. And he just doesn't want to pay the fee to do it.
Why does that bother you?
It bothers me because I'm there early. I'm set up. I put hours and hours into what I do every weekend.
And you have a table to display it.
Yes. And I too could just show up whatever time I feel like and walk around trying to sell stuff. And the thing that really bothers me is that dude's not just trying to sell to people with tables. He's trying to sell his shit to our customers as well.
I don't see it that way at all.
Oh, it's annoying to me.
I feel like he's going to have a much harder time selling than somebody with a table.
Not at all.
I disagree.
Well, you're wrong. I've seen it more than you have.
Run the challenge.
What challenge?
Here's what we'll do.
Okay.
Not tomorrow, but at a card show in the near future. You'll have your table, but you're going to just walk around with cards and try to sell them. And you have to try to sell them closer to retail.
Yeah, it won't work.
Why?
Because none of the dealers are going to buy it.
So you just
And
proved my point.
No, they're not going to buy it. But if I start hitting up other people that are walking around, of course that'll be super awkward for me because you know how extroverted I am in crowds of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, random person, you want to look through my shit?
Yeah.
You can buy it.
Yeah.
And just have a trench coat on with like cards
That's
strapped to
what
the
I'm
inside
saying,
of it.
bro. I'm saying it's probably not that effective for
I
you.
didn't say it was effective, but I said he's doing it, and it's really annoying.
You should call the manager. I can't believe that. Oh, shoot. Anyway, speaking of card shows, those of you in Central Ohio, thanks for the overwhelming support we found in Xenia once again. It was great talking to all of you, but we will be at the South High Card Show.
Southway American Legion?
Southway American Legion, Columbus, Ohio. Tomorrow, which is September.
You mean January 21st?
I said September.
You did
I
say
meant it.
September. I know you did. I was like, what?
I'm okay.
Time warp.
21st.
Just random number, bro. Just throw it out there. See how it goes.
Oh, geez. January 21st. What time is it? Is it from like 9 till noon?
No, it runs. It's I think scheduled 9 to 3, but I'm gonna be honest with you. It's usually dead by about 1 to 1:30.
Yeah. So we'll be out there. If you want to see, Gary's going to be walking around in the middle of the crowd still.
No, I'm not. That show I don't have time to. You've been to that show with me before. My table has 4 or 5 people at it, like all the time.
It's because he won't let them leave. Have you ever been in a store and somebody's like, "Do you need anything? Is there anything I can help with? Do you need my assistance? I'll be right over here if you need me." There's a coupon on that, and you realize the person is watching you load your cart. Yeah.
Wow, that was aggressive.
He also pays people. He gives cards so he has a line so he can say, "You see the line I had?" All right, big project today. We're talking about teams that are not still in the playoffs.
Yeah, we teased this last week.
That may be worth investing in.
Players from those teams, yeah.
Yep.
To grab in the offseason.
Yep. So we're going to run through the list. There are some teams where we just don't think it's smart to make a play at all. We're talking about players where you could buy their cards. There could be an uptick. More hobby related, but it's obviously going to have to do with how the team's doing and what's expected in the offseason and next year. So let's just kick it off.
NFC first?
Yeah, let's do NFC
Okay.
first, starting with the Cardinals. Kyler Xbox Murray. You see what I did there?
I do. You gave him a weird middle name because that's what he's been.
Yeah.
He's addicted to Call of Duty. It's a weird thing to be addicted to.
So, Kyler, off-season moves. Why?
If I was rich, I wouldn't be addicted to a video game. It'd probably be cocaine. If I was rich.
Okay, so Kyler with the Cards. Jeez.
I'm not rich, so it doesn't matter. But if I was, I think that would be what I was addicted to.
Okay. Back to the Cardinals. Kyler
Yep.
Murray, the quarterback in the football team.
So Kyler had a lot of hype 2 years ago and played really well, and you saw a big increase in his car prices. Then the Cliff Kingsbury effect came in. It's very similar to the Chip Kelly effect, where the first 10, 12 games he was coaching in the league, the things he was doing people hadn't seen before, and so it was very effective. Then professional defensive coordinators figured it out, and Chip Kelly didn't know how to adjust. Also, Cliff Kingsbury didn't know how to adjust. So this year, Kyler's stuff tanked. Like, you can buy Kyler stuff cheaper than you can buy Daniel Jones stuff right now. There are some Kyler stuff you can buy cheaper than you can buy Taylor Heineke stuff right now. I think that Kyler's issues have been twofold. One, he and his head coach and play caller didn't get along very well. I think that was pretty clear. They did not see things the same way. They did not see eye to eye on things. I also think that health was an issue, and maybe him blowing out his knee might have been one of the best things ever to happen to him, because it's going to give him 10 months to get the rest of his body right and to reinvent his game a little bit. He's still going to need to have the pocket moved because he's not a big guy, but he doesn't have to run around like he looks like Mario running around out there. Like, his body doesn't run like a normal person's body runs, but he's still really fast.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think Kyler is a solid buy going into the offseason. If you want to wait a little bit longer into the offseason and see if it dips more, you can. I don't think it's going to, but I also don't think you're going to miss a window.
Yeah. It's almost like people just quit talking about him. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I also think that there's just a few adjustments there from him being able to do what he was doing before. And that's a team that's just really streaky historically. They're either hot or nobody. There's no relevance at all.
Correct.
There's not a lot of in between there.
Yep.
So, I didn't pull up, but do you have any idea ballpark wise where his rookies are going?
Raw stuff. I would guess you can buy his raw prisms for $3 to $5.
Yeah.
If I had to venture a guess off the top of my head, but I'll tell you in about 2
I remember
seconds
selling
flat.
a BGS 9 base prism rookie. This was in the middle of the COVID stuff for like $140.
Oh yeah,
I don't
no.
think it's doing that now.
I sold several of his silvers in early 2020 for next to nothing. Looks like his raw prism rookies are going for about $15, $10, 15. You can buy a PSA 9 sold for $15.59, a PSA 10 for $50.
Yeah.
I think that's a no-brainer. You're not going to lose money on that, and you could double or triple your money on that.
Okay. Falcons. Kyle Pitts.
I struggled on this one. I tried to think of anybody on that team worth buying. I thought Desmond Ridder, but man, he didn't show much in 4 games. In his defense, there's not much there around him.
Right.
Offensive line's kind of bad. Thrown into a bad situation, but I couldn't justify buying his stuff. Kyle Pitts has already proven he can do it at the NFL level. He was dinged up this year, and the quarterback play was horrendous. I think he's a buy low option. Keep in mind he's a tight end, so it's not like he's going to go through the roof unless he just balls out. But I also don't think you're going to lose anything going after it. It's a real cheap play. And you can get some of his nice stuff pretty cheap.
Yeah. The Panthers. We got literally no one written down.
Who do you want to buy from the Panthers?
Nobody.
Who's their best player offensively? DJ Moore? Probably.
Yeah.
You're not going to make any money on DJ Moore. You probably won't lose any money on DJ Moore either, but
What's going to happen in the offseason or next season that would change that? I can't.
I mean, I guess Sean Payton's supposed to interview for the coaching job, but I honestly think Sean Payton goes to Denver. Like, that's what I think happens. So
Yeah, I don't see anybody on that roster.
No.
Up next, the Bears. I still think that there's room on Justin Fields.
I do too.
I think they started the game that everything started to turn around was the game that they lost to the Dolphins, and I was there. But basically, they kind of took the brakes off of him and said, "Yeah, if you want to run, you can run," and he can run. He can move.
He had the fastest. I'm not talking about just for quarterbacks. I'm talking about the NFL as a whole. He had the fastest clocked sustained speeds in the league, faster than Tyreek Hill. Like he was 21.2 miles an hour multiple times on runs this year. And he's 6'3", 225.
Yeah.
He's a tank.
Yeah.
He literally picked that team up, said, we might be losing games, but we're going to score some points, and we're not going to embarrass ourselves, and put him on his back.
Yep.
People say he needs to improve as a passer. He does need to improve somewhat as a passer, but
I
you know what
agree.
else needs to happen? The freaking receivers need to catch footballs.
Yeah.
They need to get guys that know how to get open against NFL corners.
Yeah.
Like, you can't put all that on a quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah, I like Justin Fields. His stuff's still reasonably priced. There's a lot of – because he's kind of in this in-between phase where the people are excited. He's a young quarterback. They see the potential, but he hasn't quite put a run together in a season, right? You can find a lot of his parallels, SP rookie stuff, under $50.
Yeah, reasonable. Yeah.
And a lot of stuff for that $15 to $25 range.
And a ton of stuff, if you want to go for the quick, easy money, buy his Chronicle stuff for $2. You can buy his Chronicle stuff all day long for $2. And I promise you, unless he gets into something terrible in the offseason, which I don't anticipate being the case, he's football all the time, you're going to be able to sell it for $4 leading into next season when the hype builds up. Like, you'll double your money on that low-end stuff all day long.
Yep. Let's keep it moving. An organization there's been a lot of excitement around. It's been fun to watch. The Detroit Lions.
I love Dan Campbell so much.
I love Dan Campbell. I like one of your picks. I'm not as convinced about the other one. I agree with you on Jameson Williams. I am not excited like you are about Jared Goff. But that's okay. I can be wrong. That's why he's probably cheaper right now. A lot of people think the way that I do about him. Don't pull up a stat line.
I'm gonna.
He's wanting to make a debate out of this.
No. I don't want to make a debate out of this. I want to ask you a question.
Here it comes.
I want to ask you a
Because
question.
okay is not good enough. Here it is. He wants to ask a question, but he needs to make sure the stat looks the way he wants
No.
it.
I already know. Player.
Ladies and gentlemen, for point of reference, I already know means I'm searching on Google right now.
I'm not searching on Google. I'm
What are you
pulling up stat lines on footballreference.com.
See, guys, I knew where this was heading before the sentence was done.
Player A. Okay.
He
This
thinks
year,
I have
player
to play
A.
this game.
44-38 yards. 29 touchdowns. Okay, that's player A.
Is that Davis Mills?
I wish. Would have been freaking amazing. I would have made so much money this year.
You know what? You owe me $30.
What was the bet?
You said Davis Mills would have over 28 touchdowns.
25.
Okay.
He was close.
Okay.
He was close.
How close?
I think he had 22.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was close. I do owe you money, though. 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, yards per attempt, 7.6, yards per game, 261.1. That's player A. Player B.
This is taking a long time.
Hey, listen, I don't need your guff right now. Player B. 3,600 yards, 3,695, 26 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 217 yards per game, QBR of 39.3. Player A, Jared Goff. Player B, Aaron Rodgers. I'm not saying Jared Goff's better than Aaron Rodgers. What I'm saying is that one's trending upwards, one is trending towards the latter part of their career.
How are you calling that upwards for him?
For Jared Goff?
Yeah.
It was a huge step forward from the last 2 years.
So you're comparing his year to Aaron Rodgers' arguably worst year.
One of his worst years,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Yes, for
I
sure.
got it, yeah.
My point being that I don't think people realize how good Jared Goff was this year. I really don't think people realize how good he was this year.
I don't think he's going to get credit because of how. One, people don't like him,
I don't disagree.
and I'll go a step further and say why. He might be the nicest guy in the world, but he's got a smirk on his face.
It's fair. That's fair. He looks like a spoiled rich kid. He's got that Mason Rudolph effect going on.
Yes.
But he played really, really well on a
Yep.
team with a lot of weapons. All those weapons are going to be back next year. And they've got another top 5. Do they have a top 5 pick this year? I think they do. I know they're a
think
top 10 pick.
He's a guy that can produce. We've seen it. He's done it before and had a good year this year. For whatever reason, he's one of those guys I just think the hobby doesn't respond to very well. I don't get excited about. I think that's what happens with him.
Yes, I don't disagree, but I also think that you reach a point of critical mass where you can't argue numbers anymore. And if I can buy, and again, this is all about what can I make money on. If I buy a PSA 10 Jared Goff rookie auto for $200, $250, right? And next year he goes and has the exact same year that he had this year, and I sell it for $325. I've made a 70% gain on my money in one year.
But that's not how the hobby works necessarily.
No, but it's not how the hobby works. But I do think if he has another year because look at what his stuff did this year over the course of the year. You could buy that same rookie auto for $120, $130 at the beginning of the year.
But him going to that program.
This was his second year in it.
I know, but they had been so bad.
I understand, but I think that the Lions are also a team that could very easily win 12, 13 games
now
next
we
year.
know that. We
Yeah.
didn't. That's what's changed.
I know, but they didn't make the playoffs this year. Next year,
I'm not convinced Goff looks any sexier in the hobby a year
All
from
right.
now. Even with
Disagree.
a couple playoff wins. Yeah,
disagree.
we do disagree. And I didn't even have to pull up a stat or write a monologue for that. Up next, speaking of your least favorite quarterback in the league, the Packers, we have no one. Because there's nothing happening up there. I don't know who I would invest in.
I don't think there's anybody to invest in. Aaron Rodgers' stuff is already high, justifiably so. First ballot Hall of Famer, unanimous Hall of Famer. But he's nearing the end of his career, and if I don't see many more Super Bowls in his future, so there's no conversation of him ever surpassing Brady in the hobby. His stuff is a fine, stable value investment. To me, it's like buying a mutual fund that consists of Coke and Pepsi and General Motors. There's nothing wrong with it. You'll see steady, small returns.
Yep.
But other than that, there's no receivers up there. Christian Watson's stuff is already too high based on what he did. He's very much like Chase Claypool was the year before, 10, 11 touchdowns. And you're like, holy crap. And then I think next year it's going to just fall off a cliff. We don't even know if Rodgers is going to be there.
Well, yeah, and I don't really think he will.
And I'm not a Jordan Love believer, so.
No, but there's a lot of people that bought a lot of him in breaks.
Yeah.
Up next, the Rams. Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald, Baker Mayfield. A few names written down here. I'll have another take on this.
Fire.
It should be the safest investment in the world to invest in Aaron Donald. Cooper Kupp is so well established. Here's the problem in the hobby. This team was cresting when the market was cresting.
Correct.
And there are people super upside down on a lot of rookie stuff for Donald Kupp. I guess it wouldn't be rookie stuff, but a lot more of the parallels, SPs, that kind of stuff. I think it would take quite a bit for there to be much movement in the offseason or for prices to tank out to a point where you can flip them. If they're there. I think it's safe. However, the Baker Mayfield situation is very different to me, that there's been a lot of volatility, that his stuff was super accessible. His transitioning from one team to the next has always been surrounded with drama. So you have people just offloading and I'm getting off at this station. I don't want to keep riding this Baker train. But now you got something that's impressive in Baker and perhaps a really good fit for him. I totally could see Baker stuff really, really taking off. Donald and Kupp, I think there'll still be some good values in offseason, but I don't know what they could do to see a significant increase in their value.
So, Cooper Kupp, just to give you an idea.
Are you pulling up more stats again?
Not stats.
Good
No.
Lord.
Sales prices. Cooper Kupp. Do we agree that if he's healthy, he's one of the 3 best receivers in the game?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. Maybe giving Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase a run for number 1. Agreed?
Maybe, yeah.
Okay. Before Cooper Kupp got hurt at shows and eBay and everywhere else, you were routinely seeing his base rookie stuff, mostly Optic and Donruss. That's about what there was. There's some Prism stuff, but the stuff that was moving. His Donruss rookies were flying out of my boxes at anywhere, depending on condition, from $12 to $20.
Mm-hmm.
The last 15 sales have been under $6.
Mm-hmm.
There is a PSA 9 that sold for $20 recently. Base $4. That's Donruss. Optic are between 10 and 12, and they were 25 to 30. He comes back healthy, they instantly go back to $15 cards.
Maybe.
Why wouldn't they?
Because the timing of being hurt, what's happened in the market at the same time.
Well, the market hasn't gone down another 50 or 60% in 2 months.
Okay. How much are those rated rookie Mac Jones and T-Law selling for raw now?
Very different. Very, very different. 2 reasons it's very different. One, and this is big difference, T-Laws have gone way up. Mac Jones have gone way down.
Mm-hmm.
Performance.
What are they selling for, though?
T-Laws, the last I looked, his rated rookies are $5 to $6.
Okay.
But here's, and the Mac Jones are $1 or
now
$2.
Stop right there.
Okay.
You think Cooper Kupp will outperform card for card T-Law?
Yes.
That's the point I'm getting
Here's
at.
why.
That's where we would fundamentally
do you
disagree.
want the why?
I don't know. How long is it going to take? Because we got a lot of
30
teams.
seconds.
Then yes, hurry.
Here's the why. The why is very simple. 2021 Donruss printed at about 5 times the rate of 2017 Donruss. There are 5 times more T-Law base rated rookies out there than there are Cooper Kupp rated rookies. That's all.
And that's why people are buying them at the prices
They have
are.
a higher. They're going to have a higher intrinsic value just based on.
I don't think with that product it would matter. I
Okay.
think that's very different than something a little more
at their peak. T-Laws were still $5 or $6,
Mhm.
and Cooper Kupps were 15 to 20.
Yep.
So if they're moving in tandem,
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is that value would concern me. I wouldn't feel comfortable telling people to go buy a bunch of raw Cup rookies at
For-
$5 and $6.
oh, see, I disagree.
Yeah.
I don't think you ever lose money on that investment.
I think we both are in the same place there in Donald. He's going to be undervalued forever.
until he retires, which may be this offseason.
It could be this offseason. That could bump it a little bit. Over the long haul, you're collecting one of the GOATs.
Yes.
So, same page on that. Up next, Vikings. No one.
No one. I wanted so bad to write Kirk Cousins' name down, but man, nobody cares.
No, I did grab one of his
Yeah.
rookies, and if you're listening, like the week that we dropped this, if you want a good look at market volatility and how player performance and playoffs affects a rookie card, that's a great one, because here's somebody that's hot, cold, hot, cold. There's no in between. There's somebody who's been in the league for a few years, and just go look at the recent sold prices because it is all over the place.
Yeah. Well, and he played really well last weekend.
Yeah.
Like he played out of his mind.
Yep.
They lost.
Yep.
He played really well. I thought he would be the reason they lost. He wasn't the reason they lost. The Vikings didn't lose that game. The Giants won that game.
I would also say, not that the market's down at all, but I'm still buying every Justin Jefferson rookie out of a dollar box you can get.
If you can find him in the dollar box. My whole thing with investing in guys is unless it's a quarterback, I don't go after the super low end stuff. Now I sell it, but I don't buy it to resell it. You know what I mean? It's unless I get it stupid cheap.
Yeah, it's a hold if you're buying them at that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, interesting that Jefferson stuff compared to the Cup, but obviously that 5 years was a big difference in
Yeah.
the league. So, all right, up next, the Saints, Olave
That's
from
about it.
the Ohio State University.
Had an amazing rookie year, faded down the stretch as that offense faded down the stretch.
In tandem.
Yes.
It was bad.
Everybody that's a Saints fan got to see what we Bengals fans dealt with for years with Andy Dalton. When he's good, he's good. And when he's bad, it's not good.
Seahawks, 2 names, DK Metcalf and Eugene.
Yeah, I think the Seahawks are going to re-sign Geno Smith. I think that their fans will revolt if they don't. They love him
Yeah.
up there. And DK had somewhat of a down year, but he's still a monster.
Agree on DK and Geno. Here's the thing with Geno. He has so much SP high-end rookie stuff sitting in these $3 to $5 boxes
Yeah.
all over the country.
Uh-huh.
And prices probably haven't been changed on them. I have what was that called?
It's a press pass.
Press Pass on-card auto that comps around $30. So, and that's unlicensed college uni. So
It's of 25, isn't it?
it's
And he
SP.
signed at Eugene.
He
That's
signed
what's
at
cool about
Eugene,
it.
But there's a lot of way better products out there that are circulating. So I would any Geno you find in the off season, that especially if it's like a rookie auto, something SP, unless the price has been changed, snag it up. I'm buying that stuff for $5 all day if it's got an auto, a rookie.
Oh, for
SP.
sure.
I'm thinking about it at 10.
Yeah. I think he's going to have a late career run like Rich Gannon did. I think he'll have about a 4-year
that's a good
window where
analogy.
he's really good.
Yeah.
Makes a Pro Bowl or two.
Yeah, I like it. Buccaneers. Wow, you got a bunch of names down here. Evans, Godwin, Levante, David, and Devin White.
Yeah. And you have any thoughts on those guys or no? You just want mine.
I don't know that I'm buying any more Evans and Godwin just because every time I've gotten excited about that, nothing happens. But they would be consistently really good. And now it's been several years. These are people that are kind of cemented.
Mike Evans has had the best 6 or 7 year run to start a career
Yeah.
in the history of the NFL.
Yeah.
Like it's just it's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Devin White, I like. He's a defensive player, right? He's
Him and Levante
yeah.
David. Levante David might be from a public perception standpoint, the most underrated defensive player in the last 20 years. He is year in and year out borderline first team All-Pro. He's entering his 12th or 13th year in the league. He doesn't have a lot of time left, and he's still performing at a ridiculously high level. He is a guy who's going to be a Hall of Famer, no question about it. Devin White is maybe the best middle linebacker in the game right now. He's a freak. Between him and Roquan Smith. Devin White's fast. He's strong. He hits people. He can cover tight ends. He can even cover slot receivers if you don't ask him to cover him 30 yards downfield. He's a stud.
not excited about either of those defensive players personally, but with defensive players, I kind of wait a few years to kind of see.
Well,
the body
Levante's
of
in
work.
12 or 13. 12th or 13th year.
Well,
so
then I'm definitely not interested in
you got
him.
body of work with Levante David
Yeah.
already.
Devin White, not so sure.
Fourth year in the league.
Yeah.
He's a stud. Okay.
All right, Commanders, the name that we bring up every time. He's
he's-
still undervalued.
yes.
Terry McLaurin. I even had him when we did that draft to kind of see where the values would go. His market didn't move this year, but it's quite the dumpster fire for the Commanders.
Right.
So, but if anything good happens to him, I can't imagine it not taking off. There's 20 other teams you put him on, and it's a game changer. Actually, I would say that just about every team, it would change the dynamic.
You imagine what Justin Herbert would do with that kind of a route running downfield threat, not just a Mike Williams who wins jump balls and can't run a route to save his life?
Can you imagine?
It would be crazy. Yeah,
You held that burp in. You can
I
let it
did.
out.
Yeah, I didn't want to burp
Everybody
right into the
heard it.
microphone.
That's
No, they
very
didn't.
polite of you.
Yeah, I try. I try to be polite. I didn't say I succeed. I said
Let's
I
move to
try.
the AFC. Ravens. We've got both Lamar and J.K. I want to give a shout out to J.K. He's always been somebody that I cheered for, especially as a Buckeye. The way he plays, the way he runs, I see him. You can visually see him improving throughout the
He's
season.
trusting his knee again,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
they brought him back at the beginning of the year. He wasn't himself. He went to the medical staff and went, listen, guys, something's not right. They went in and checked it again. They went, oh, yeah, there's some scar tissue. They went and cleaned it up. He missed another month. And when he came back, he was old JK. I loved the fact that after the playoff game last week, he was venting. Like, he was like, why am I not getting the ball at the 2-yard line?
Yep.
I didn't get one carry from first and goal in. What?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I loved that he was frustrated
Yeah.
by that. He's really good, and his stuff is pretty cheap. Like, you can buy his Prism Autos raw for $30, $35. Steal.
Yeah, and the other one, Lamar, is not cheap, but
Cheaper than he should
he's
be.
cheaper than he should be. I agree. He's just not been as talked about in way of how he's performing as he's not playing.
Yeah.
So you can find a lot out there.
Yeah.
He's somebody I will buy low end raw rookie stuff from all day.
Yeah.
But I think, I agree with you on both of those. Browns, Donovan Peoples-Jones.
It pains me to say it because he's a Michigan kid, but I liked him coming out in the draft. His rookie year was up and down, but he showed flashes. And then this year, he was probably the Browns' most consistent receiver. I don't think he was the best receiver statistically, but he was their most consistent. I still think that Amari Cooper's one of the best route runners in the NFL. But Donovan Peoples-Jones is fast. He's tall. He makes contested catches, has reasonably good chemistry with both Deshaun Watson and Jacoby Brissett. And I think that Deshaun Watson knocked the rust off and will be back to being a top half of the league NFL quarterback next year. So,
With his contract, it better be more than that.
well, it's better be.
Not
but
his problem.
No, not his problem. Never. He's got guaranteed money. Deuces. He don't care.
Up next, if you like a bargain, look no further than the Broncos right now.
100%.
Russell Wilson. I got excited pulling any parallel at him just a few years ago
Yeah.
because it was guaranteed a couple bucks.
Last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has become perhaps the most disliked quarterback in the league by everyone.
Yeah, people don't like fake people in any walk of life. And people started to realize that Russ Wilson was kind of a fake person. Like, this whole persona he built up is just that, a persona.
How about the Broncos getting him and Tim Tebow?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I think, though, that especially if I'm correct and Sean Payton takes that job, that Russell Wilson has a monster bounce back season.
I think next year's going to be a statement season for him.
What happened to Russell Wilson once Nathaniel Hackett got fired?
He began to perform. Yeah.
He got better.
Yep.
Nathaniel Hackett was awful at his job. Awful. Russell Wilson will be better next year no matter what, and if it's Sean Payton, it may be crazy good.
And depending on how you feel about this, my only concern is his teammates don't like him. So that winning changes a lot of things.
Yes.
But that the chemistry is shaky. So Russ is a buy because it's so cheap. There's not a ton of risk right now, but it may take halfway into the season. It may take 2 seasons before you see it. I also think that he's way better than what we've seen this year.
Oh, yeah.
In performance, and it'll get better for him there. Okay. Next, we have the Texans and Dameon Pierce.
Before he got hurt, he was probably the favorite to win Rookie of the Year in the AFC. The kid runs hard. It's interesting to watch him run. He reminds me of Emmitt Smith. Not saying he'll ever be as good as Emmitt Smith was, partly because he won't have that offensive line. I think you could pull a 58-year-old Larry Allen out of retirement right now, and he might be better than a couple of the linemen that Houston rolled out there this year. But he's from Florida too, which is interesting, but he's got that low to the ground running style. He's not crazy fast, but he runs hard between the tackles. He hits whatever the hole is supposed to be. He doesn't try to freelance anything, and he's got a little bit of wiggle once he breaks through the line. And his stuff, again, you can get pretty cheap. I'm not usually big on buying into running backs, but he will be the focal point of that offense unless they go draft a quarterback. But even if they draft a quarterback, if they're smart, they'll ease that guy in a little bit. I wouldn't buy Davis Mills this year. I already rode that train.
Too late for that.
I rode that train, and I was not as correct as I wanted to be about that. He wasn't as bad as people thought he was. But
do you realize only psychopaths say I wasn't as correct as I thought I was?
I wasn't completely wrong, but I also wasn't right.
You were completely wrong.
Okay.
Do I need to pull up Football Reference right now? Player A. Player B. And you're like, all those stat lines suck. They're all Davis Mills. All right. Colts, Alec Pierce.
Yeah, rookie receiver this year out of Cincinnati. He was a second-round pick. Had 4 or 5 really good games. Early in the season, he looked really good. Was a victim of the musical chairs and terrible quarterback play that the Colts went through this year. And I think he only can go up, and his stuff can be had pretty inexpensively. And if they bring in a real quarterback there, they've got talent.
Yeah. Raiders, Devontae Adams,
Still
Josh
a buy.
Jacobs. I agree. How is that team just? Yeah, I would agree. I don't think I have a lot to add there.
Nope.
Chargers, Austin Eckler.
You know how many people have led the NFL in total touchdowns in back-to-back years in the history of the league?
I don't.
5. Austin Eckler just joined the club.
Who are the other ones?
Priest Holmes, Larry Johnson,
Oh, yeah.
Jim Brown. Trying to remember who the other one was.
4 out of 5 is not bad.
Yeah. But long story short, very rare club, and he's really good and really overlooked, and you can buy his rookie stuff for pennies.
Yep. Cheap. Miami Dolphins, we actually both agree that there's nobody in this offseason that we would buy.
No.
The scenario, so Miami front office is saying Tua is our guy. The only issue is him not playing isn't really up to them if the big issue that they're running into are medical issues. So
Right.
I would be listening. If Miami has a scenario where they don't get rid of Tua, but they want to bring a quarterback in, and you have somebody that's a little bit of a journeyman, remember the offense that they'll be going into. So there'll be a chance for a quick flip or, make a few bucks off of whoever might go in there. I'm just not convinced with those concussions that that's something that he will or even should be returning to the league on.
Question for you as a Dolphins fan,
Mm-hmm.
and I want an honest answer.
That's all I get.
Do you really want Tom Brady if he wants to come there?
No.
Yeah, me either. I wouldn't either at this point.
No, I don't.
He looked awful against the Cowboys.
I think that Cowboys game was Brady realizing it's over.
You saw it on his face a few times during the game, like, oh, God.
And when it was him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want Tom Brady there because that'd be the most Miami thing ever. Oh, we'll get you the GOAT. You want to go? We'll get you the GOAT. There's not anybody I'm buying in the offseason in Miami. I mean, the offensive weapons you have are established. Their numbers are pretty huge. I mean, the duo of Tyreek and Waddle, they if they didn't break it, they were close to breaking the single season 2 receiver record for yards.
Yeah.
But their price reflects that right now. Pats, Mac Jones, 3 stars beside it because he's that cheap.
The buy of the offseason. In my opinion, that's the buy
What a
of the
roller coaster,
offseason.
huh? Everybody unloading because they thought it was going to be a lot. Now, Mac Jones is the one that those Donruss rated rookies, the first few that came back as 10s, people
$1,100.
Insanity.
Insanity.
What's that going for now in a car
50.
show? $50.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
Insanity. But it's the buy. He's the buy of the offseason, in my opinion.
I'm buying in volume, and I'm buying low end because
Yes.
people are upside down on him.
Yes. But here's the thing with Mac Jones. He didn't forget how to play football. And he had 3 or 4 games this year you were like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
He had Matt Patricia and Joe Judge running the most dysfunctional offense I've ever seen, throwing to guys who wouldn't be employed by any other NFL team outside of their practice squads. And he still wasn't horrific. He was a league average.
Mm-hmm.
The Patriots, sidebar, very interesting scenario. That the public relations department from Bob Kraft released this. It was not Bill Belichick, and I bet behind the scenes it was fire. I wish I could have been a fly on the wall. They released a statement saying that they would be hiring an offensive coordinator. They extended Gerard Mayo and were starting the process of hiring and used specifically the term offensive coordinator, which Bill Belichick went out of his way to not use the whole year.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't disagree. The problem with the Pats will be how are they going to be over the next few years? Will there be as much excitement in a division that has the Bills becoming what they are? But it's still quarterback.
They still almost made the playoffs this year.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Up next, the Jets. We got Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner.
Sauce Gardner's already one of the 3 best corners in the league.
Yeah, he's really, really good.
He might be the best corner in the league. People don't like to say that about rookies, but he might be the best corner in the league.
And with a name like Sauce, the hobby's going to love it.
Oh, yeah, he's already got – he's kind of that guy. Garrett Wilson put up a ridiculous stat line if you look at the quarterbacks that were throwing him the ball this year as a rookie. He runs amazing routes. He's got great hands. He's a leader. He creates separation. If they get competent quarterback play, that kid's an 80-1200 kid every year.
Yep. 2 more teams. Steelers, we got TJ Watt.
That's about it.
Yeah.
I don't – that's about it.
Which is weird because it's been typically this is a team where you have 4 or 5 guys that you're.
I thought about George Pickens. I think his stuff is priced appropriately though, and I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
I don't know how good Kenny Pickett is. Yeah. It's like, but TJ Watt's a Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy to say that already, but he's got another 5 or 6 years probably, and he's going to be a Hall of Famer, and he's good for 15 plus sacks every year that he's healthy. You can buy stuff pretty cheap.
Yep. I'm probably not buying TJ Watt. I don't disagree with anything you said.
You just don't like buying defensive players.
It's more nostalgic.
Yeah.
It's like they retired. Oh, they were really good. That's
Yeah.
where I get excited. Like I love Urlacher stuff.
Yeah.
Zach Thomas, I'm buying all day. Aaron Donald is one that I'll keep buying. But last team, Titans. And we said no one at all.
No. Can't buy Malik Willis.
Nope.
He looked really bad. Can't buy Josh Jobs. Cool, but like I said last week, he's on his 73rd NFL team.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah, there is a reason for that.
Derrick Henry's peaked. I think that we've seen the best of Derrick Henry, and now it's going to be the relatively fast decline that we see from high usage older running backs.
Yep.
I hope that he is smart enough to walk away before it turns into an Emmitt Smith scenario where he has 2 years where he has 500 yards rushing and is hurt all the time. None of the receivers there are worth buying at this point, in my opinion, because we don't know who the quarterback's going to be. And defensively, their best defensive player is Jeffrey Simmons, who's a defensive lineman.
Team's in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is crazy because they were such a threat. They were so dangerous going into wild cards, playoff scenarios. Yeah. But I think they leaned so heavily on Henry in the run game, and the timing of him wearing out.
The GM lost his job.
Yeah.
Because he traded away A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
I mean, how
did it happen?
How can you possibly think that trading away a guy who is a top 10 receiver in the league for a first-round pick and then drafting another wide receiver with that is going to make sense? You always take the bird in the hand versus the one in the bush. It doesn't make any sense.
Right. You always do take the bird in the hand.
Yeah,
that's
always.
Any one thing I've always said. And upon my deathbed, my family surrounding me,
bird in the hand.
Gary whispered these words in a broken voice. Always take a bird in the hand. For one in the bush. Damn it, son, you're not listening to me. This is important.
You know what's crazy?
These are my last words.
There's a reasonable chance that could happen.
A bird in the hand is worth. He's gone. What happened?
If you said this conversation might be my deathbed conversation to my son, he would look at you and go, maybe.
Yeah. I could see us debating it. And then you say, that doesn't make any sense. And Gary's feeble hands opened his phone. And he went to clichéreference.com. Son, it's right here.
Oh,
Bird in the hand.
Oh, hell.
Is a top 5 all-time cliche.
Oh, man.
This has been the Ball Card Show, the sports podcast.
For the Sports Collector.
See you now.
Peace.